invocation and pledge. Do you mind doing the invocation?
Yep. We can do that. All right. We come to you, or we come before you with gratitude for the opportunity to serve our community. Thank you for the trust you place in us to care for the essential services that support the lives and well-being of our neighbors. Grant us wisdom and clarity as we discuss the matters before us today. Help us to make decisions that are fair, thoughtful, and in the best interest of the people we serve. Guide our conversations so that they are respectful and productive. We ask for strength to steward our resources wisely, vision to plan for the future, and humility to remember that our work impacts families, homes, and the daily lives of so many. May our efforts contribute to a stronger, healthier, and more sustainable community. In your name we pray.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Comments from the public? Okay. President and director comments? Nope. Consider an act on request for adjustments to or relief from the specific charges imposed by the district. Thank you. Review and act on the consent agenda. Anything we need to adjust on the consent agenda or take out? Okay. Can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 11, receive an act upon request for nominations for the upcoming Montgomery Central Appraisal District Board of Directors election and adoption of a resolution in connection therewith.
This is the second go around we told you about at the end of the year last year, second election that we're gonna have. Arthur he won from last year, but there was an issue with the calculations, so he may be, we don't know, he got the 3-year seat, he may be going to the 1-year seat. We'll know on Friday, but this is the nomination section that we're gonna do, and he is running yes. So
Okay.
have the resolution and everything in your folder.
What's the action that we?
So sounds like we need to vote again.
No vote yet, just to nominate an individual as your selection, as your candidate.
Oh, I apologize. I used the wrong word. So we need to look at the list.
No, this is to create the list
You're gonna, yeah.
by making a nomination for.
Okay. And Arthur, are we allowed to kind of talk to Arthur? Okay. And Arthur, you want to be on this position?
It would be great to get the support of this board to get the nomination so I can get on the list that will come back to the reclamation and conservation districts after the 15th of July so that the districts could vote in July to meet the date of August 15th.
Okay.
I will officially be advised on Friday by the board that there was a calculation issue and I will lose a 3-year term. I will get a 1-year term that expires at the end of December, and that's the reason why I'm gonna run again.
So now we talk about that. I'd like to nominate Arthur.
I was gonna say, is there any reason
Anyone other opinions?
We only nominate one person though?
Yes.
That's easy.
Can we get a nomination for the upcoming MCAD board director election adoption resolution therewith? Someone say name? Give me a second. All in favor of Arthur? Aye. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Receive the regular monthly SGRA Woodlands Division report.
was a pretty normal month. violations, nothing out of ordinary. Nothing major. You're back if you want to go through anything, or have any questions, you have an answer.
Cool. Give us just a minute, please. How does all the rain affect the systems, and the budget? I'm assuming everything's fine. I mean, they're wet and dry seasons, but going through this the last couple of years, it sounds like when we get rain, our income comes down, but we also need that to recharge our water sources underground as well. So it kind of, there's a pro and con, but it's, not unless it's an awful flood or an awful drought, it's not really a big deal.
Yeah, I mean,
Essentially.
what you're seeing right now, you're gonna see water production go down. You're gonna see wastewater treatment go up slightly, right? Because you've got more INI that comes into the wastewater plant, but
Mhm.
it's also not catastrophic. You're not having Hurricane Harvey for 3 or 4 weeks straight. So all in all, it's pretty normal.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Yeah. Sorry, my hands are slick from lunch. The other thing that I watch a lot is the wastewater treatment facility number 3 chlorine level max. That tends to not be so much of an issue hitting the close to the max in the summer. Again, this is my non-engineer opinion, but due to all the families being home and the water keeps circulating, not sitting in the bottom of a cul-de-sac. I mean, that's correct, right?
So wastewater plant 3, which is on page, to make sure we're looking at the same thing. 20? Oh yeah, there you go.
I mean, because this sometimes whenever the kids are in school, the water is not moving as much, but people are home. There's more people at home and the water is moving.
So on the water system side, correct, the more movement you get, yes, chlorine residual stays a little bit higher because it's moving, it's
Okay.
not turning into other stuff. The number you're seeing on page 20 for wastewater plant 3, that's the wastewater discharge. So that's the wastewater that comes to the plant. That's the
Okay.
water before it hits the actual, I think where that big deal.
Okay.
I apologize. The charts look a little bit different, so I may have inflated. Yeah. Anyways, cool. I know the number we're talking about, but the chart looks a little bit different. So I don't have any questions. That's the main thing that I look at because it's in our neighborhood. Okay. No, thank you, Chris.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Review the draft fiscal year 2026 SGRA Woodlands Division budget. Hi, how are you?
My name is Haley Lawhon with the Attorney Department at SGRA. As you know, we gave the presentation at the trustees meeting. Happy to give it again, or just answer any questions that you might have on the budget. Some of our highlights on the rates are our water and wastewater rates are not changing, the wholesale rates. And the GRP rate is proposed to decrease 4 cents. That goes to the committee on Monday, down to $2.93. And then we will ask for your vote to direct your trustee at y'all's July meeting to vote at the August trustees meeting. So if you'd like to further, happy to get a question.
Your meeting, what are your thoughts?
I would recommend just going through and catching the highlights of the
Yeah,
meeting. You don't have to do all this.
Yeah, can you do the highlights? Awesome.
So just the timeline is what I just went over is, in July, we will ask for y'all to direct your trustee to vote at the August meeting to approve our budget. That is done at the trustees level. And then that goes to our board in August for approval. Then on this rate slide that Maureen has up, this is what I was talking about. This is a highlight for us, that we are not changing the water or the wastewater rate. So the wholesale water rate will stay the same at $2.73, and the wholesale wastewater will stay the same at $5.65. If the chart down there on the bottom has caused a lot of confusion, so I apologize. We'll do it better next year. But this one shows the total cost of the wholesale water. If you take the GRP blended fee plus the wholesale water fee, it is $5.66. per 1,000 gallons to provide water to homes. This is not a new rate. It's just a combined rate to show you the total cost of water. So on the right-hand side, this is the blended fee, that's surface water conversion fee that you see on your bills. So the GRP is proposing, like I said, it goes to the review committee on Monday, so it's not official yet. But they are proposing to reduce each of their fees, the groundwater fee and the surface water fee, down 4 cents because we take it and do the blend ratio. It's only a 4-cent reduction on the blended fee that we charge out to all of you. So down to $2.93. So on this one, we just, the audit committee asked us to look at our rate changes over the years in comparison to the inflation change, the rate of inflation over the past decade or so. So this slide, we added in our wholesale water and wastewater rates, so you can see what the rate has been over the past decade. And then we also added in the inflation rate change.
What is the rate of inflation that you assume?
So we assumed a different rate for each year off of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Chris helped me out with that and pulled some data to pull the inflation rate over this year. So it's a different rate each year.
Do you have like an average rate that you assume, or can you tell me the rate you used this year?
Pull it up because this has the change year to year, so I don't know.
Each year with individual years based off from 17 to current. I think we
Okay.
use January to January, maybe.
Is there any way to find out what those inflationary rates are?
Yes, I have it to build this chart out. I have it. It's just, this one is the change year over year, so I don't have it in the chart to tell you it, but I have the data that I built this chart with.
Okay, and you'll be able to give us the inflationary rates that you use?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just to make sure we're looking at this stuff.
So on this one, the big things to point out is our rate changes over the years have been consistent with the inflation rate, with the exception of FY20. That was 1 year that we had held the rate constant for several years, and there were some things that we had put off that we just couldn't put off anymore. So we did have a rate change, even though inflation was going down that year.
The slide before this one, I think, yeah. Sorry, it's hard to see everything on the,
Yes.
oh,
It's right here.
thank you. What page?
39.
But looks like each household is going to save 40 cents on their bill.
It's just our fees coming through. It does not include anything that Y'all's Mud or WWA adds to the
Nice on top.
That's bigger. Yeah, I mean, y'all are in the mud. So, but your fee is going down 40 cents for the average household. Good.
Gallons a month for water and 6,000 gallons a month for wastewater.
I mean, that's what I use roughly, and I have 5 people in my house with a pool and a sprinkler system. So, yeah, cool. Thank you.
Demands water slide. So the highlight on this side is just really to show our water loss percentage decreasing over the year, and then also to graph the demands that we've had in the past and then the proposed demands, so that y'all have that information for you. But the water loss is the main focus on the graph. You can see that our water loss really started to drop off around 2021, and that was around the time that the AMI meters were put in by the Woodland Solar. That really helped calculate and water that's being used. So our water loss, or otherwise known as unallocated water, accounted for.
Good. Thank you.
The wastewater demands, I can really say on that is they're staying the same at 2.8 billion gallons a year. So up next is, this is one item that we keep in the presentation every year, just to show that it is staying in our budget. It has been something that was requested by the MUDs, the lobbyists, to help us look out for other opportunities and funding opportunities at the state level. So the lobbyist is staying in the budget for next year.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
So the lobbyist is what y'all pay, correct? And so if that's added to your budget, then you still have to provide services for us at a competitive rate, given that your expenses are potentially $100,000 more.
So
I'm perfectly fine that you pay a lobbyist and you can still meet our needs by having higher expenses. If you're, frankly, I don't really care what your expenses are, as long as per household, they meet the needs of our community. If you want to spend more money and still meet the needs of our community, then that's great. So if there's a way for you to make your company better and you can still allow for a good product and at a fair price, then do what you need to do to run your company. That's your choice.
So this wouldn't be Sensor River Authority. This is on your behalf.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, this,
Okay, sorry. Oh, I take all that back then, because
yeah, you saw some furrowed brows. I think there was a.
This organization, Cornerstone, is the ones that acquired the $5.4 million for 2 projects in the last few years. So it's had a pretty significant return on investment. And they've also more recently been instrumental at the federal level at redefining what a special district is. Because we've been able to apply for certain federal funding because the federal definition of a special district did not include MUDs.
Okay, so who pays the $100,000 a year?
So the MUDs do. I mean,
Spread. I mean, it's split.
Through the water
It's-
rate.
Okay.
Budget, because it's in.
Fine.
Yeah. So with this in there, you still have a stable water bill.
I mean, it's good to use lobbyists for the right reasons. I mean, we have an attorney for the right reasons. So those are all
Yeah.
important things.
Yeah, you're not useless overhead, Brian.
Unless you need me, the better, actually.
Litigation. Yeah, no.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for the clarity, because that makes, Eric's point makes a lot more sense than why you need lobbyists. So I just want to do.
That previously requested because it does make our company better by being able to provide better things to our customers, but it directly impacts you all.
Thank you.
So on the next slide, this is a slide that we added in a few years ago, just showing some of the higher increase or not increase, but changes of budget lines in the operating budget that's also in y'all's packet. So we went through a set of criteria this year to pull out for the presentation, which is a change of an increase or decrease of $50,000 and a plus or minus of 20%. So if they met that, if the line item met that criteria, we added it here with a little description of what was going on in that budget line. So I'm happy to walk through it, or if you just have any questions, I can answer them. So up next, this is just a summary that comes out of the operating budget. It's also in your packet. It's just a summary of all the different categories so that you have it in a more big picture view for your, for the presentation, but not much to say on that. Same goes for the next one on the budget comparison. The next one is just comparing our revenue and our expense changes. As you know, we're a zero-based budget, so changes in revenue has to change in expense.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Your group insurance went down by 24%. Insurance has typically been going up. How did you get your insurance to go down 24% as a company?
So last year we budgeted for a 10% increase, and whenever the bill came in, it came in at a 0%. So this year we're adjusting our insurance back to actual cost. So that's why you'll see that change in budget.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, with that, it's just a reminder that I will be back in July if y'all come up with anything else, and we'll ask for your director trustee in July. Thank you.
All right, 14, discuss water line condition assessment study that was presented at the All Muds meeting.
We just put this on all the agendas so that we give the board an opportunity to share any thoughts, takeaways that you had. And then at some point, we need to make some decisions on some of these things on what to do on. SRA has requested that the MUDs think about, that evaluation and give insight to them by November 1, so that they can update the 10-year project plan for next year to better identify where certain projects might fall. In turn, that'll allow us all to figure out over the next decade.
Okay.
So,
I mean,
not today necessarily, but today's more just to share your thoughts on what you saw the other day.
Yeah. As
I'd
a
be
person that
happy to-
wasn't there.
happy to give you my thoughts. So, I mean, I've been doing this for 3 years and we've been talking about the same thing for 3 years now. It's nice to have a final assessment of what's actually under the ground, from different areas in the woodlands. I know when we started this, everything was the asbestos pipe. It looks like the asbestos pipe is actually in pretty good shape except for asbestos pipe that was touching water. Which water, tends to have that effect on things, that it can break it down. So I guess that's reasonable that a pipe near water. Again, I don't know necessarily why that happened, but that's the conclusion that I came to. And then, so in other parts of the woodlands where water is not touching the pipe as much, pipe seems to be in pretty good shape that it'll last for decades in the future, which is a great way to save money. The plastic or PVC pipe that is in bad shape is the newer stuff. And it sounds like it was either due, and according to the guy's description, was due to shifting in the ground or poor construction.
Installation.
Poor installation. And then after that, speaking with SGRA members, I found that when it was constructed, there was like a smooth part and then a bell part, and then whoever installed it pushed too hard. And basically, as the curvature of the pipe went over the female end, went over the male end, they could tell that the pressure was there, and that's what caused some of the issues. So it sounds like whenever we go back with plastic or PVC pipe, we need to make sure that we have some extra due diligence on the installation, so we don't waste our community's money again. So overall, it was a great presentation. Sounds like we're going to be able to save, $100 million or so, which is always a nice tag. Again, saving $100 million.
Stay louder.
But it sounds like there's some pros and cons. We're all a little surprised that the Harper's Landing, the pipe going into Harper's Landing was one of the worst off items. But it sounds like that was not necessarily due to all of our houses being roughly 20 years old. It's more due to our mud being older than our houses. And we then realized that whenever we realized that the gentleman that sat on this board had been doing it for 40 something years, we realized, 50 years, that the mud is considerably older, just the houses are newer. And those areas still needed water. So the pipes just eroded.
So we determined too that specifically speaking of the Harper's Landing, that one of the pipes that they had marked, or at least from my understanding, the way that they had marked it was a high risk and needed to be replaced, was the same in that same area where they had dug up and replaced or done repairs multiple times right there at the intersection. And so I was wondering why it needs to be replaced. Why does that need to be replaced if it's already been broken and repaired enough times that wasn't replaced? But I guess there's more than one pipe there,
Yeah,
or
there's two pipes. The one they replaced was the PVC. The one that needs to be replaced is the asbestos
okay.
pipe. But whenever they do that, if they could, towards that intersection, whenever we had the big rain, I guess last week, coming off of 45 next to the mini dealership, there was a bunch of water, looked like it was about to go over the ditch. But as you got past the, I think it's like a fire station, there was barely any water in that ditch. So whenever they do fix this pipe, if they could regrade that properly so the water can actually get to the new concrete drain that they made, and not cause additional damage.
Whose responsibility?
Yeah, let me tell you, is that us or is that the county?
That's the county.
It sounds precinct 4.
It's like a roadside ditch.
Yeah.
It's a roadside ditch, yes, sir.
Yeah.
But it's changed. The flow has changed since the pipe had been
Sure.
changed. So I just wanted to make sure that I said that publicly, so that way whoever's in charge of it does address it. So if I need to call the county, I'm happy to call the county.
I do think there's like a high spot in the ditch now.
Probably, or some obstruction. Or
Yeah, I mean, it's been like,
Impediment
it's
to
been
the-
like that ever since they installed it. It's just not
Perhaps when
been.
they were digging up that area for the pipe replacement, they didn't put the grading back the way it was before. So now it's causing a counterflow or a blockage.
Yeah, if we call it, we'll fix it. We'll get with precinct 4 and see what we can do in that area.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Was there anything else about the meeting?
Those were the major takeaways.
No, I mean, I obviously the positive takeaway is a lot less replacement needs to be done than what I understood needed to be done when I first joined onto the mud board. So, I mean, I think the presentation was excellent and I think everybody had a positive.
I was gonna say, was the temperature in the room
Much better.
less
It started off.
adversarial? I'm just gonna pick a term,
It-
where it's less seeing shadows everywhere.
well,
There were some choice words said by certain people,
Well,
not this district, but only a few times.
I think it almost started off on the wrong foot because the questions started coming out almost instantly before the presentation even got going. And then a little bit better meeting control took place and they
Walk through the data.
they pushed some of the questions back and allowed the presenters to present. And then have a question, so that way it was more productive and it kept on time better.
Derek, you referred to that, there's a request here for movement, decision making.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think all the boards have requested to put an agenda item on their next agendas with potential action to be made to give guidance to SGA on what your opinion is on the direction of related to those lines. I hate to even say the AC lines anymore because it's going to be just the water lines. It's both, PVC and AC, but so, obviously the presentation included a tiered structure. Theoretically, logistically, you'd likely follow that alignment throughout the decade. Do the worst ones first, then the next, then the next. Whether that's year 1, 3, 9, or 1, 5, I don't know. That's the part that SJ is going to kind of need to work out, as long as they know that the boards are committed to moving forward with as recommended by the.
So at the start of the trustee meeting, and I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, you could help me out, but trustee Walter,
Leszewski.
how do you pronounce it?
Leszewski.
Necessity. Started the meeting off and just kind of gave maybe almost a little bit of an emotional, but a plea to the other trustees and the audience that the research has been done. The presentation, that we know the facts, we know what we have, and that we need to stop punting the ball and take action.
Separating forever.
Yeah, that it's time for us to act, because we have an obligation to our community to make sure that we have a water supply that's safe and they can depend on. So he made pleaded with us, with all the boards, to take action based on the information that we now have, which is fair.
In that vein, and I'm just asking out of ignorance, will we be presented with or how do we then move the needle forward? How do we present, this is our recommended path forward? Do we have that, or is that going to be presented en masse to all the MUDs and says, you pick option A, B, or C, or you pick, or you stand behind that?
Yeah, I think
I don't know what the next step is.
I'm just trying to.
So, I mean,
A firm proposal to vote on, but
Yeah,
go ahead.
well, yeah, I think the first step is for the boards to agree that you want to push forward with the recommendations that were given in the report. I think then SJA will need to take that information and say, okay, what makes sense is,
Plan.
because,
Recommended.
top project on the list is mostly already designed. So that one is almost immediate. So maybe you do that in year 2 and do the other tier 1 in year 3, and then you're at 5, and then you're at 8, or whatever the numbers look like. That's, I think, the next step for them is to, strategically kind of align the 7 projects over the next decade as was recommended. Come back to you, and then you likely say, okay, if that's the case, if this roadmap is what it is throughout the next 10 years. Okay, when do we need money and how are we going to address that? You know, as far as funding.
So once that firm proposal comes to us, right, the plan and the costs and all that, are we then voting to approve this for the 10-year project? Or are we going to be approving this on a yearly or
Yeah, the 10
2-year? What's the?
Yeah, the 10-year project plan is not an approval to proceed with a project. It's an approval to, I guess, approve the roadmap of where you're roughly to go with it. I mean, it's a planning tool. Yeah, so each project would need to come back for an additional approval, because at that point, it's really the approval to expend dollars for that specific project. And that's really where the approval comes in. But we can't do that unless SRA knows that, one, we want to go forward, and then they can, you know, roadmap it within the 10-year plan. Because we still have, I mean, it's 120 versus 230 or whatever it was before. That's great, but that's still a big number. And over time, you know, that's going to have a result of an impact on the customer. Maybe not as much as it was, but I think the next step after we have the roadmap is we're going to have to figure out what is that impact to the customer. And then you got the treatment plant. I mean, that's another piece of this too at some point. So whatever that number that is. So I think those things have to be evaluated to identify what the impact to the customer will be. And that will help guide you as to how you think you're going to pay for it, whether it's water bill, a rollback, or whatever else the option is.
I mean, I think most people are on board to know more, learn more, see what the next step is, see something actionable. I'm not saying let's dig today, but you know, whatever the next step is, I think we need to explore that and learn more, get a proposal, get facts and figures on what these steps look like for this process, for sure. I mean, it seems positive moving forward.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I think whatever the measured incremental approval or tacit conveyance that we align and we want to empower the next step or the next domino to fall, you know, I see personally no reason to continue the discovery period or the rediscovery period that we've kind of been part of now for more than a year that we've been sitting on the board now and seeing all the things that have been going on. So I'm anxious to convey whatever degree that, if not today, soon, to then get to those next steps, to talk about what those next tactical, actionable things are, proposals look like, to then we can start to make those hard decisions about how do we fund and what is the best way to tier those things in together. That's just my personal opinion. I know we're just kind of having a discussion.
What is the time frame for all of that, though, for us to receive what we need to be able to, you know, approve?
So next month, there's already been some other boards that have asked for an item on the trustee agenda to authorize River Authority to move forward with the town center line, which I think is Tier 1 project, and then some other board members for a more general item on the trustee agenda for the trustees to authorize the River Authority to move forward with the planning for these tier projects, and then come back with a proposal for how that would be funded over the 10-year period. And so once assuming that it sounds like you've got some level of agreement and alignment with board members on how your trustees should act on that next month, then River Authority prepares that, brings it back to the trustees, and to the extent that it involves just annual budget expense items, that would be approved at the trustee level. To the extent it's likely going to include some tranches of bond issues, even if we take the wastewater treatment plant off the table and just talk about 120 million of lines. There's probably going to be a few tranches of bond issues, and they'll need to work with the FA to figure out how to package that and what's most efficient. Don't want to go too small a bond issue, don't want to go too big because you have to spend it down for federal tax purposes. And then that would need to come back to the MUDs. We'll have to see what shape that comes back to. If it comes back to the MUDs for consideration as one supplemental agreement that involves all the tranches at stages. Or if it just takes the first tranche and says, okay, here's supplemental agreement for each of the bonds to approve, to authorize the river authority to go issue water sewer revenue bonds for the first tranche of repairs. So that's to be determined, but that would come back to answer your question, Kathy. That would come back to the MUDs once it's been prepared, authorized by the trustees, prepared by the river authority, and then would come back and be presented to the trustees and then to the MUDs for consideration and approval.
Okay, so then my next question is, I see, and I can't remember what page it was, that we do have a couple of bonds that are coming due in 26. What do we do with that money? Is that money going to be used to help fund repairs?
You're talking about bonds that we paid off?
Yeah.
So that's something that the FA will look at every year when they come to you with a recommendation for your tax rate. They look at your debt structure, and sometimes you'll have these, what they call debt cliffs, where they drop down, and so you decide, okay, you've got this opportunity to move that money over to M&O. You got that one-time opportunity, because once you drop it down under the
Incremental.
developed district or even developing district, you've got that 8% limitation. So you've kind of got this one-time opportunity to move that over. As that debt shelf hits cliff, you can move that over to start stockpiling some operating funds that you can use for either contributing toward river authority project or toward much specific infrastructure that you're going to have. So that would be, part of the discussion as we get in the budget for the MUD. That would probably be September, August, September.
Yeah.
And we know we're gonna have on this side.
Well, I mean, we have the ditch, the pipe, and the water facility, all, I mean, with 3 big tickets that are in discussion.
But one is ours exclusively, the ditch.
So, yeah,
So
good. So what verbiage do you need to board so we can learn more about the construction and cost?
well, I heard you say that we need to empower our trustee next month to go convey that sentiment. So is that just a verbal
Yeah.
alignment here?
Separate item on the agenda today. It's just discussion. So
Right.
it's not a motion.
Vote or anything, but
I'd like to empower you.
yeah, go forth. And, but I think we're ready to get to to whatever degree that next getting looks like.
And we'll keep an action item, we'll put an agenda item that will be along the lines of discuss and or act on.
And or formalize.
And a water rehab, just so you can either, contemplate the whole thing and or take direct action on town center.
Yeah, we'll just have it as a sitting item. I mean, on the agenda, so we can discuss and or act, whatever we need to for the next several months.
So I definitely don't want to go to the trustee and then all of a sudden we need like a second or third engineering report again. I don't want to go down that process. I think we're confident that we can
You're hearing that from us.
start moving forward.
It's clear.
Cool.
It's very clear.
Any other?
Mm-mm.
On this topic. No.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Brian, your turn.
Yeah, so the legislative session is thankfully over. It ended up being not nearly as bad as it could have been for our industry. So we're pleased about that. We are in the process of completing our comprehensive legislative summary that we have after each session. So y'all should receive that before your next round of board meetings. I'll go up on the Google Drive. Have to answer questions if y'all have them on specific bills as you go through that. One bill that we'll be talking about in the coming months is a bill that requires for agendas to be posted 72 business hours in advance of a meeting instead of 72 calendar hours. That will.
So Wednesday, not Friday.
Yeah, so that's going to push back the deadline for directors to be able to provide any items to Eric to add to an agenda to probably the Thursday or Friday, the week before the trustee meeting, instead of week before the MUD meeting, because we'll have to post agendas that Wednesday, the day of the trustee meeting, which will be before the meeting occurs. So Eric and I are talking about how we can address items that may come up at a trustee meeting that the trustees want the MUDs to discuss the following week.
Right.
So
You don't
I
have
think
time to.
right. So we'll have a generic item that I think we can handle some level of discussion on, and then if there's more specific items, then we'll handle that on a case by case basis.
Maybe you said it and I missed it, but you said, did that pass or? Okay.
It did.
Transparency.
Yeah, that'll come into effect at the beginning of September. So we have a couple months to deal with it. We're trying to come up with a solution that doesn't require us to move trustee meeting. So,
Right.
come on that. And that's all I have on the attorney's report. Happy to answer questions.
You can only back it up so far to overlapping.
Yeah, exactly.
Today's meeting.
Before, post the agenda.
Yes, exactly. When we finish this month's meeting, post the next meeting.
16, discuss and or act on out-of-district water and wastewater service agreement with Montgomery County Precinct 2.
I think that's still a lot.
It's a long one.
Yeah. And the thing for the next item, 17, is what I'm saying. So nothing on 16 or 17.
Thank you. I was just making a note. 18, receive and or act on the general manager's report.
All right. Have a couple things. If you turn to 58, report starts, and point out we continue to expand the report to put in more and more information of things that are going on throughout the woodlands. Obviously, not everything is specific to 39, but wanted to just show the boards all the various things that we are doing. So if it gets a little too cumbersome, we can refine it back down, but I thought more was better. Just love it. Communicating everything that we're doing. A couple of things I will point out that we are doing. The sanitary sewer rehabilitation project is underway. And so we'll be hearing a little bit more about that with past estimates as we go forward. And ditch work we are doing, a fair amount of ditch work throughout all the muds. I'll say we've already had 2 significant projects in 39 that will likely push the budget over on the ditch repair line item. We had 2 very large corrugated metal pipe projects that we fixed earlier in the year, and now we're dealing with another kind of a finger swale, if you will, that connects to one of the bigger ditches that's been overgrown and is causing some issues. So we're going to be going up there and addressing that here in the next couple of weeks. And other than that, on the ditch side, that's about it. We're very busy right now. Staff's very busy. It's kind of a busy time of year for us when the water usage goes up, more questions, calls come in. We have a lot of people in the summer that move in, move out over the summer. And then we've had a little bit of a glitch on some of the billing software. You'll see a letter in the report that kind of talks about thank you for your patience and if for those that were impacted. It wasn't a large impact to the community, but there was some impact on customers, particularly on the electronic billing side. That's the main, having one bank talk to the other bank.
I had a question for you. I got a notice that I was past due and I'm like, how is that possible? It literally says auto draft. And it looked like it was printed 2 days before the auto. Yeah. So it was just auto.
We've, if that initiated delinquent notice or any penalty, we've waived those because those were erroneous and we're working to fix those behind the scenes. So that's all going through the forward. AWBD, go ahead.
I have a question. This isn't for our district, but on 61 in the chart for Colin Powell Elementary, since most of the elementary school kids in this area go to Colin Powell, what's going on there?
They're just having some additions to it. I don't know the specifics offhand. Just some additions to the facility.
Sounds good. Thanks, sir.
AWBD. Several of y'all went to AWBD. Kim and I went. This was, since I've been here, our largest attendance of directors that went. So I was very happy to see that. I'd love to continue to grow it and do more stuff over there. Hopefully it was worthwhile to learn various things, kind of get to see the lay of the land with, different seminars you get to choose from and opportunities to network and things. So any specific takeaways I should point out on that y'all experienced?
No, I thought it was great. It was a great learning experience for me. I mean, the legislative session was actually pretty funny. They
They're missing my partner, Diana Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just nice just to have a little bit of laughter in the,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was great. I learned lots. I'll definitely be going again. The next one in the winter is in Houston, so maybe we could all, you know,
Yeah.
join forces and go down.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Where is that one at?
The Marriott Convention Center.
Is it still there? Still in San Antonio?
No, it's here. Houston.
It's like the third weekend in February usually.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it won't quite be the lazy river. I don't know if that's heated, but it'll be in January.
Oh, downtown?
I believe that's the one with the,
You have Texas shaped lazy river in it. We'll make sure it's heated. I think I'll just be in there floating around.
I'm like, I've been looking out, there's.
You just gotta check the water flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure it's okay.
Nice.
so yeah, that was a good event. Also have the CCR report, the water quality report that will be going out to customers. So here and there, that's required to go out by July 1, so that'll be going out as a separate mailer here soon. And that kind of gives the residents a sneak peek at what all the water quality testing results of it are. So no issues or red flags.
Like I say, no red flag surprises in this, right?
No, as expected. We didn't expect any, but we already know these results
Yep.
months ago, but.
Yeah.
So those will be going out soon. And last thing I had was John for communications.
Good afternoon.
I had one piece, John, I think you can touch on this as well. On page 69, the water conservation rebates by the district. No one in 39 claimed a rebate on that. I know you spoke about it in the past, and it's summer, it's hot, people are doing things at their houses and sprinklers and bushes. I mean, it's available for people to use. So I want people to know that, hey, the program's here for you to use to make your home a better place. So
Absolutely. It's a regular part of our messaging. You bet. Yeah.
thank you, sir.
And Eric talked about the CCR, so you're going to see that go throughout all of our channels. And it's a reminder that does live online year round too, and the new ones are now up. So if you go to the webpage now, you'll see the 2024 report. We're in Q3 of our strategic plan, so summer months, prime time for water conservation, especially as we think about how we're applying water to our landscapes right now. Had a nice reprieve last couple of weeks. Don't water your lawn. Not yet. So you'll see I focused on that. Infrastructure renewal communications, we continue to put a good deal of work into that in conjunction with Holloway, our consultants. Several updates to the standalone renewal website. We now have a digital communications toolkit. So folks, you can take these posts, and disseminate it through their channels. Just one more way to help get the word out to the community. There is a GIS-based interactive map in production, should be online, I'm thinking within the next month. Folks can get on that map, pull up individual project sites, see how things are affecting their neighborhood, get more information that way. And then we did add a community working group page as well, providing more background on that part of the effort, the working group effort. Speaking of which, they're slated to meet the 5th time the working group on July 1, and they're going to hear from Carollo at that meeting about wastewater treatment plan. Oh, we have a video in production, a renewal video. Should be coming out here probably again within about next month. They were shooting B-roll with drones yesterday. And there'll be various folks being interviewed, Eric and others, community members and so forth about the importance of renewal. I brought you some statistics on the Woodlands Water webpage there at the bottom of 72. So I like to look at average page views per month as well as unique visitors. And we're holding strong. Since we implemented the strategic plan at the beginning of 2023, we have doubled our website visitation. And again, that 2025 is holding strong there. I was trying to grow that, but I'm feeling pretty good about that being a gauge of how our overall communications are going, because whether it's a social media post or Woodlands Water Weekly, the direct email. We're always linking back to the website so they can find more information. So that's one nice gauge for us to track how communications in general are doing. You got current marketing materials the next couple pages, and just wanted to note that I will be out at the farmers market this Saturday in Grogan's Mill. You can find outreach calendar at the back of the report. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, sir. Any updates on the water meeting with Holloway? Do you go to? What? The community water meetings. You're the one that goes to those now, right?
No, I didn't make that meeting and I'm not getting any communication on that. So I'm at a loss. Is there an email that's updating on these meetings or what? Because I'm not getting anything.
Okay, well, make sure you are. I don't know what.
I'm not sure that it got changed over from when Sean
Okay.
transferred it over to me because I haven't seen the notice or notification on any of them yet.
Okay.
I'll be meeting with Holloway this week, so I'll let you know.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
sorry about that.
No worries.
No,
On top of that,
Yeah, well, in the last meeting, the one you missed was the tour of the treatment plant, which you.
yeah, I'm saying make that one anyway.
You would have seen, you've already seen that. So.
You been with the treatment?
I haven't been to the treatment plant.
He hasn't been.
Oh, you
I
haven't?
really needed to go to that one, but I had a conflict with my day job.
Okay. Well, we can make that happen. We can work with Jason at some point, maybe when it's cooler to go.
Yes.
Go see that.
Yes, but yes.
Gotta bring an umbrella
Yeah. This summer heat, that would make it interesting.
Oh, we can do August if you want.
Hot and stinking.
now. Give them the full treatment.
All right. Trustee report.
So trustee report, there was no major action or any action that was taken at the meeting other than, we had the typical reports from Region H and the report that you saw a summary version of from the SJRA. So other than watching the video and seeing the reports and all that, then there's nothing really major that occurred there.
Thank you. Recess. Brian? Okay. Reconvene. Any future matters for placement on the agenda?
Can I go back and change, sorry, back to the May, I missed. The May, I was here, it says I was absent. We can change that.
Yeah, we
Sorry.
could have done that before. we-
I know. I was the one that he was absent. It went right over, I'm sorry.
We will, right?
Awesome. Thank you. All right, and we'll adjourn at 12:53.
Thank you all.